Okay, continuing on with our professionalism series, building a personal and professional brand, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about workspace and common area etiquette. Okay, things that you can do to continue to build your brand or establish your brand the way you desire by how you interact with the workspace and generally the common areas shared by other employees. Okay, so let's start with your immediate workspace, right? Rule number one, keep it clean and tidy. Even if you are more efficient, effective, when you just throw things about while you're working, afterwards, clean it up, keep it tidy. There is a perception that individuals who keep a tidier desk and are more cleanly with regard to how things are strewn about on their desk, and certainly with regard to dirt or grime or anything like that, that people who keep their desks more neatly organized and clean are, again, more professional, but also generally more competent than others. Okay, whether that perception is true in any way, that perception is there, so keep that in mind. So try to keep your workplace clean and tidy. This starts with don't eat at your desk if you can help it. Okay, if there is a break room, a lunch room, things like that, food smells. It leaves a lingering odor. Oftentimes people throw away elements of the food, if not an empty food case that has all the smell from the food that keeps permeating the room throughout the day. But even small things like condiments, napkins, things like that, just make certain that, again, you're keeping your work area tidy and clean, not leaving breadcrumbs, not leaving residual smells, not leaving things like that about. Again, it doesn't look very professional. Now, I understand that some people have to eat at their desk. If that is the case, try to bring in food that does not give off a bad odor, right? Sandwiches, potato chips, things like that aren't going to offend someone the way a hot dog with onions on it will. Okay, so just keep that in mind. If you have to eat at your desk, select your menu appropriately. All right. At your desk, decorations. The decor in your around your desk or in your office, that type of thing, says a lot about you. It tells others who you are in a way. Okay, so make certain whatever you're putting out there supports the brand that you hope to build. Okay, putting funny things on the wall says you're more of a carefree, lighthearted person. Putting family pictures around, shows that primary interest or value there for you is family first type thing. If you have a display of books that are professional in nature, that can say positive things about you. Oftentimes academic style books are used for decoration, but in a way it again says something about your brand, a learning orientation, that type of thing. So just make sure that whatever the brand you're going for, that you want others to perceive about you, that you support that with the decor in your office or workspace. Okay. If you're entering the workspace of others, make certain you always announce yourself ahead of time. Don't just pop in and surprise people. Okay, no one appreciates that. I imagine you don't appreciate it as well. So even if you have a cubicle, announce yourself while walking up. If there's some place where you can stay hidden until you've announced yourself, and then knock on the outside of the cubicle. If you're going to visit someone else's office, make certain you knock on the door first. Try not to look in or peek into the office before announcing yourself, type scenario. Once again, it's just professional to give someone that courtesy to prepare to receive you, even if just a second's notice, right, or a few seconds notice before you enter the office. Don't enter an office unless invited. Okay, announce yourself at the door and stay there as if you were knocking at the front of someone's home. Allow them to invite you in and orient you as to where they expect you to stand or whenever you come in, okay, or sit whenever you come in. Okay. Phone calls, make certain your phone calls don't disturb others, right? That may mean getting things like earbuds and things like that allow you to talk in a lower voice but to come across louder on the phone type scenario. Also, it blocks out having to hear others, so be careful with or excuse me, it blocks out so others can't hear the phone conversation. Be very careful when putting people on speakerphone. Okay, that type of thing. So the main etiquette point there is, once again, do not disturb others to the extent possible with your phone calls, particularly if they're not business related, if they're personal calls. Okay, office equipment and common areas. This is a whole other area where you can show a level of professionalism and etiquette. Try to keep it clean. Even if you're cleaning up after others, sometimes it's not your mess. Once again, that's a thing where you show, once again, people respect that when you give small acts of kindness to others by cleaning up after them to a certain extent. But anything certainly that you use that strows paper, that gets something messy like that, that you clean up after yourself, always respect other people's property. Anything from food in the common refrigerator to other people's staplers, things like that, right? If it belongs to someone else, respect it. You find it somewhere, ask if it needs to be returned, that type of thing. All right. Printer. Printer is a place where you can establish your brand pretty well by being thoughtful and considerate of others. Replacing paper when it's out, replacing staples when it's out, replacing toner when it's out, not leaving things on the printer, not printing huge documents before checking whether other people need the printer. If something is printing and it is a huge document and you can pause it to allow someone to make a copy during the middle of that, things like that that show consideration of others is always very, very well received. So practicing good printer etiquette is very important in the workspace. And then lastly, conference rooms and meeting spaces. Okay, making sure you keep them clean, restore them to the condition they were in when you came in. If they weren't in appropriate condition when you came in, restore them to the condition they should have been. Okay, that includes removing trash, discarded pencils, pads, things like that, assembling those, rearranging the chairs, wiping down the surface, clearing the communication lines, reestablishing whatever technology hookups were hooked up and put them back in the condition they were in, putting screens back up, shutting blinds or putting them back in that condition. All of these things, just remember, you're trying to make it look better than you found it. Okay? And then lastly, the water cooler. The important thing here is the water cooler is where people stand around oftentimes and chit chat. Okay? Do not gossip at the water cooler. You can listen. Okay? I encourage you to refrain from doing that if possible, right? Because then you get drawn into it. But when people whine, moan, and complain, that is normally where they do it. And you can endear yourself to others and cause a level of fit with the people who are doing it. But once again, I'm not sure you want to fit in for those reasons, right? Things can get very uncomfortable if you are promoted above those individuals type scenario, or you're interacting with the people who they were complaining about beforehand, right? Type scenario. Just, it's best not to complain in that manner. If you are going to complain, do it constructively. Do it through suggestion boxes. Talk to someone directly, that type of thing, rather than third-party gossip or complaining around the water cooler. There's infinite things I could say about that, about how what you say ultimately comes back on you and reflects or builds your brand. Just understand that the water cooler is a very dangerous place for that. So you have to balance that idea of wanting to fit in with those around you and endearing yourself with taking part in things that will ultimately diminish your professional brand.